They really set the standard for the British pre-Dreadnought battleships and would lay the groundwork for the next 15 years of British battleship construction. Today, let's discuss the Majestic-Class of battleships. Built throughout the middle of the 1890s, the Majestic-Class of battleships, consisting of 9 vessels, would ultimately change the way the British build battleships and lay the groundwork for the classes to come, leading all the way up to the HMS Dreadnought in 1906. So I figured today we could take a sort of a overview look at the class, and then I'll make some individual videos on the careers of individual vessels within this class. Designed specifically to sort of fix some of the flaws of the earlier Royal Sovereign class battleships, the Majestic-Class were designed with a lot of newer technology built in. Let's start with the armor, the things that make these ships particularly survivable. The Majestic-Class would replace the composite armor seen on the Royal Sovereign class with new Harvey armor, which was far more resilient and could be used in thinner amounts, allowing the ship to weigh less, which allowed it to maintain a rather impressive 16-knot top speed. This armor would go on to basically fully replace the composite armor for a lot of British warships throughout the next 15 years or so. But the biggest thing introduced with the Majestic-Class battleships were its 12-inch guns. They were the first battleships within the British Navy to introduce 12-inch guns since 1880, and these 12-inch main guns would become sort of the standard for British battleships, basically all the way up to the First World War, more or less. So let's talk about the armament on these ships. The primary armament is 4 BL Mark 8 12-inch guns, which were positioned in 2 turrets, one at the bow of the ship and one at the stern. They were supported by a secondary armament of 12 quick-firing 6-inch guns located down each side of the ship, with 6 on either side, 4 down the middle, and then 1 on the front and back of each side of the superstructure, and 16 12-pound guns, which were intended for engaging lighter targets like torpedo boats and patrol boats that might get too close to the battleships. On top of that, there were 6 torpedo launchers, 2 mounted aft on the ship, and another 4 below the waterline. Protecting all of this were 9 inches of Harvey steel around the ship's armor belt, which protected it from impact from incoming artillery shells and torpedoes. To protect against fire coming from above the ship, there were 2 to 4 inches of heavy deck armor, and the barbette turrets and conning towers each had 14 inches of armor protecting them individually. There's an interesting quirk with the way the turrets are designed on this class of ship. The turrets on the first 6 ships in the class were pear-shaped, meaning that they were somewhat asymmetrical in their design. As a result, while ammunition could be loaded onto the turret at any angle, ammunition couldn't be brought up from the ship's magazine unless the turrets were facing directly forward or aft. This meant that the turret had to reset itself if it needed to get more ammo from the magazine. Now, this would be corrected on the later ships in the class, which would replace their pear-shaped turrets with rounded turrets, but it was present on the first 6 vessels. As for size, these ships were 128 meters long with an over 16,000-ton displacement, making them some of the largest battleships in the world at the time. Now, these ships were remarkably successful for the British Navy, and while they wouldn't really see a ton of combat, they were pretty old by the time the First World War broke out, they would still set a standard that would be copied by navies all around the world, with many navies simply building almost exact copies of the Majestic-Class battleships. Still, with 9 ships in the class, the Majestic-Class battleship would become one of the most numerous battleships ever built by the Royal Navy, and would definitely leave their mark on these ships to come, and will definitely be a relevant talking point when we discuss future classes of British battleships. And each of the ships in this class do have their own unique story, so if you'd like to learn about the sort of tales behind the ships in this class, after all, there are 9 of them, I'll leave a link up here to a playlist I'll be building about the careers of each individual ship in the Majestic-Class of battleships. And if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Barbettes and Binnacles, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.